Ho, ho, ho! Merry Christmas, Raider Nation. Welcome back, Raider Nation and my champions. This is Eric, and we are live on Christmas evening. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good evening. We're not leaving just yet. We're not going to pull a John Fetterman yet. If I look like I'm going to gag right now, it's because my cats are using one of the cat boxes here and right next to me, and dropped a deuce in there. I don't know. They love these cat boxes. Well, I don't know what to say about that. What's up, Dominique 5? I see Officer Rollout here as well. How you guys doing? Did you get everything you wanted from Santa Claus? Well, I'll tell you what, I think Pittsburgh got something from Santa Claus, and that was a big old W. We're going to get into that. And all the second victories, maybe the NFL is the new Magic Kingdom. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Officer Rollout. We'll get into that a little bit deeper. But first, we're going to go over what we normally do, and that is the rundown. Of course, this is what we do. If you are new here, if you're watching this on a replay, of course, why not subscribe and like and all that so you can be here live with us. But this is what we do. This is our categories right here. At the end, we're going to have an open mic question and answer segment where you can get on right now in the question and answer segment. You do not have to be on camera, but you can stand off with your mic. I want to hear what you have to say about the Raider game, the Raiders in general, or any other NFL talk. And we'll talk about the question and answer question that I'm going to pose in just a minute. But first, we want to talk about what we always want to talk about first. That's you guys, the champions.
I hear everyone say it. Take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
That's right. Now, the champion count, it's not going to really go anywhere with YouTube because YouTube really sucks. And that's just the way it is. And remember last week when I told you, I showed you that that footage of that New England game at the end? Well, they gave me a copyright ding on that, of course. Even with a small screen, you know, they can't promote channels, but of course they can protect their big boys like the NFL and look after them and collect the money where it's due. So as far as TikTok goes, it's still going up. I really haven't even live streamed there in a few weeks, and it still goes up. So that tells you the type of platform YouTube really is. But with that said, let's get into this game review of another crazy game for the Raiders, shall we say.
The other team's quarterback must go down, and he must go down hard.
And as we normally do, we start on the defensive side of the ball for the Raiders, of course, and we're going to go over the 4 keys, 2 on the offense, but first the 2 on the defensive side. And with the review, I give grades for those as well as the overall performance on each side of the football. So let's get right to that first key of the game I thought the Raiders needed to do on the defensive side, and that is slow down the running game of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Not just Najee Franco-Harris, but the whole complement. My goal was to have it under 120 rushing yards and under 6 rushing first downs. I talked about the last few weeks and the things that the Baltimore Ravens did to beat them. And what actually happened was we gave up 106 total rushing yards and 6 rushing first downs on the nose. As far as the grade goes, I'm going to give this one a B. We did hit the rushing yards right at the first down level. I would say this, if it was just this key and this key alone, that was the main key, whether or not to win or lose, we would have won the game. I thought we did a pretty decent job. Not great, but pretty decent job slowing them down. There were a few leaks going on, but overall, not so bad. Not great, but not so bad, especially with a running game like the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, my second key to the game, of course, was this front 4. We needed to get some pressure on the rookie quarterback, and I was looking for at least 2 sacks, 4 quarterback hits, and 2 turnovers. What we actually got, no sacks. Oh, gosh. 4 quarterback hits. Guess who got all 4 quarterback hits? I'll give you 3 guesses, but you're only going to need 1. I don't even need to tell you his name. and 1 turnover, and that was the interception by Denzel Perryman. I'm going to include that because Cleve Farrell actually got into the grill of Kenny Pickett, and I think caused, I'm not sure if it was actually deflected or is just an underthrow. It looked more like an underthrow to me on that play. So I'm going to attribute that to the front forward, Cleve Farrell, coming in as a backup. He had a great game as well as Denzel. We'll talk about him in a minute. I'm going to give this one a C- though. I know the interior offensive line for the Steelers is pretty decent, but the edges, not so much. I know Chandler Jones got hurt, but he didn't do much anything. Max Crosby was all over the field. Unfortunately, he just did not get that sack again. It's getting to the point where it's kind of a one-man show. I said in another live stream that somebody else was doing during the game. I equate Max Crosby to the Mike Trout of football. Excellent talent on a real shitty team with no real support. Not going to really go anywhere with that equation. As far as the overall defense is concerned, I'm going to give this one a C. Now, you might say I'm being a little harsh. I'm going to grade this one a little bit on a curve. I know they only gave up 13 points, 350 total yards, 19 first downs. The Steelers were 5 of 14 on third down conversions. They were 2 for 2 on fourth down conversions, though. But like I said, I'm grading this on a curve. We got a rookie quarterback here. We had bad weather. I think if we had an average quarterback, more seasoned quarterback, and we were in decent weather, probably would give them a B or a B plus, all things considering. They only gave up 13 total points. And we'll talk about the offense basically not helping them at all in the second half. But Kenny Pickett was 26-39, 244 yards with a touchdown at the end where we saw to Pickens, and of course that interception. But of course that interception, I got to talk about this guy right here, Denzel Perryman. I think the ball was a little underthrown, but he did take advantage of it. I have ragged on him in the past about his pass coverage. I think he's a solid 3-4 inside type linebacker, like he was with the Chargers, like he was going to be with the Carolina Panthers, but we traded to get him. Solid tackler, I think he had 2 tackles for loss as well. A great game for him overall. And this defense wasn't so bad, but again, I'm grading this on a curve because the Steelers' offense is below average and the weather concerns.
I hear everyone say it, take what they give you. We're going to take what we want.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute, Officer Rollout, with that prediction. We'll talk about that right after this offensive evaluation of the Raiders. This should there should not be any surprise on how I'm going to do this, to be honest with you. First thing I wanted to go through is Josh Jacobs, obviously the league leader in rushing coming into the game. And I wanted at least 120 rushing yards from this guy. 1 touchdown, 8 rushing first downs. Now, I know the Steelers' run defense is the top 10 run defense coming in. But given that, and I think our running game, arguably the best, we have the most rushing yards, our rushing leader, I was looking for this. Of course, with the weather, we want to control the game a little bit more and run the ball more. That's what I thought would happen. What actually happened was 44 rushing yards on only 15 attempts, no rushing touchdowns, and only 4 rushing first downs. I'm going to give this an F. I'm not going to necessarily blame Josh Jacobs, however, was under 4 yards per carry. He gets a little bit of it. The game planning. Again, the game planning. We talk about this week after week. Not impressed with Josh McDaniels here. This is a game tailor-made to pound the ball. Why the hell did you get Zamir White, trade up for him to not pound the ball with him and Josh Jacobs in the tandem? That was working early on when they were trying to identify themselves, I guess, as a smash mouth football team, but not so much here. And not only that, we'll get to Derek Carr right now. Of course, this should be so surprise. I was looking for only 2 sacks max from him and 0 turnovers. They actually got 3 sacks. Some of those were where he was holding the ball a little bit too much, but those 3 turnovers, 3 interceptions, I got to give it an F. Now, I will actually credit him with 2 interceptions. That piece of crap, Foster Moreau, bouncing off his hands of stone again. I keep telling you guys, Foster Moreau is absolute garbage. I was pissed off at him last year with that pick 6 with Miami. Did the same shit here. And not only that, Jacobs had a huge run, I think about 30 or 40 yard run, got called back on a face mask from this idiot. How do you face mask? Now, maybe the refs are going to say, oh, it's a holding call and try to knock us back. Okay, they showed the replay. His hand was on his face mask. It was a face mask. I have no idea why Foster Moreau is still on this team. Now, as far as an overall grade for the offense, what else could it be? I mean, 201 total yards, only 10 points in the game, no points in the second half, 9 first downs. Now, they were 6 of 12 third down conversions, but so what? 9 first downs overall. It's a joke. Derek Carr was off target. Derek Carr was behind those other 2 interceptions, behind Hunter Renfrow, and he basically just lobbed it up at the end. That was absolutely pathetic. And of course, what else can I say about this? You know, this is indicative, you know, I think, you know, shit rolls downhill. You've heard that saying before. I think things roll downhill, good or bad. And you're looking at the top of this organization. You got Tommy Boy Davis, and then you got this guy right here. And I put post out on this when I first saw it during the game. Look at this. This guy can't even put on his damn headband right. The logo is upside down. And later on, the announcers caught it, and they said, well, maybe it's for good luck. Bullshit. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's got his head up his ass. It was right side up in the second half. Maybe he should have kept it upside down then, because we were leading 10-3 at the half. But again, the leadership, it starts from the top down. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it lends me to say again, I talked about this last week in the review, are these games fixed? And I was on somebody else's, well, I wasn't on there. I was in their chat as far as going through their game. They were kind of simulcasting. They just sit there and talk about the game while they watch it. To me, that's kind of boring. It's nice as far as communing and the misery loving company as the Raiders choked again, but we'll get to the prediction in a minute. But I brought this subject up. I brought it up for the last 3 games, and basically I was told that I'm just like a hater, that I'm just saying this because the Raiders lost. I said, no, fool. I was saying this last week when we went against the Patriots. Go look at my live stream. It's ridiculous. It looks like Jacoby Myers threw it right to Chandler Jones. Exactly to him. I got copyright hit on that. It's still up, but they're going to take any money away from it because, you know, the NFL, you know, they're absolutely fucking broke, and they got to take a little money away from little channels like myself. You know, it would be nice if YouTube could actually promote this fucking channel, if they're going to actually monitor things that closely. You could actually, YouTube, you could promote this fucking channel a little better, you pieces of shit. You know, done with that rant. But again, the guy who had a conniption fit, he went crazy basically on his live stream, freaking out about it. And I said, there was this video about pro wrestling. This guy was on there. He was up there visiting. They had interviews with Ric Flair. The guy gets up there and goes, well, it's real for me, damn it. And he was like freaking out. This is what this guy looks at. You can't even have your mind open to reality. And the reality is this looks fixed. And it's not just the Raider losses. It's the Raider wins. It's Minnesota coming back 33 points down. It's the Tuck rule that I brought up. It's the last 2 Super Bowl winners playing at home when that never ever happened the last 50 plus years of the Super Bowl era. And you're telling me this is all just coincidence? Come on. I mean, at what point do we say, hey, look, this is a business? The business is, how does the NFL really make their money, most of their money? These TV contracts, right? How does that work? How many people are watching these? The more people watch, the more they can demand from these TV networks, right? How do they do that? Make these games interesting. Make them close. Even they were down 36-3 Minnesota, they came roaring back. It's always got to be an exciting game like Officer Rollout said at the end. All these last-second victories, magical, crazy endings. If you go to the NFL YouTube page, they have shorts, right, from different games. I think they have 2 or 3 different individual games where the title is Crazy Ending, blah, blah, blah. Crazy ending, blah, blah, blah. Crazy ending, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, this is all coincidence, right? Right. Like I said, this feels like pro wrestling back in the 70s and 80s when they made it out to be real, and it really wasn't. And then they would get all pissed off. John Stossel called one of the wrestlers out. Is it fake? And he like beat him. Was that fake? I beat the shit out of you. Is that fake? No, that wasn't fake, but the wrestling was fake. So it lends back to this. And I get back to my prediction, and you saw it, Officer Rolla. I said 16-13. It was 13-10. I said they missed 2 field goals. One of them was a long one, so I'm not going to blame Boswell for that. But the other one was pretty chip shot. The first one, he just shanked it. Should have really been 16-10. I talked about the Franco Harris angle with this 50-year anniversary of the Immaculate Reception bullshit. They scheduled this game on purpose to have it at the time of this 50th anniversary. They had the patches on their fucking jerseys out there. Give me a break. Are you kidding me with this? And people, Raider fans, are so involved. I think it's because they've invested so much into it that if it's fake, they're going to look like busters. They're going to look like fools. And it's like, why did I invest so much into this? Why did I buy all these jerseys? Go to these games. Make the content. This guy even asked me, why are you making content? Because he knows I make content. He was supposed to make content with me, but he's flaked out a couple times. But that's neither here nor there. He's asked me that, and personally I said, you know what? Honestly, I really don't know. Between YouTube not promoting this fucking channel and it growing at a snail's pace on this platform, which is a piece of shit, and what I'm seeing is basically WWE sports entertainment, not real sporting events. I don't know. I even said, maybe I think I might change the channel and just do fantasy football and put it at a swing where I can look at things and say, well, I think the script is going to go this way, so that means this team's going to dominate, so you should start these players or something like that. Give it a different spin, because at this point, why go through the analysis and the keys to the game when it's all rigged anyway, Now, how they rig it, I'm not so sure. Of course, they can get the refs involved. They got the refs in their payroll. I'm not so sure they get every player. They could get the coaches, I'm sure, but how they do it is irrelevant. There's too much smoke around here not to have some fire involved. At least some of these games, if not every single one of them, pre-scripted for a certain outcome, just like the WWE. But of course, I want to hear what you have to say. I think I've ranted enough about the Raiders, about this league, about YouTube sucking ass. I want to say Merry Christmas to all. I got my little Christmas shirt on. Somebody let me borrow. I appreciate that as well. Let's see. I want to see your comments. I will get the chat room going if you want to come on to the chat room. Give me 1 second with that. If you want to look at the stats, we can do that as well. So I do have the chat room open. It is the pinned comment. If you want to go in there, you click on that. You'll go into the green room, set up a name. You can come on. You do not have to be on camera. Of course, you need your mic so we can hear you sound off. If you want to talk about the game itself. If you want to talk about me, if you think I'm out of my fucking mind saying that this stuff is rigged like WWE, you can talk about that. I think there is some going on. I'm not sure if every single game is that way. But man, it's too much of a coincidence for all this stuff happening, especially the last few years. And I also mentioned that back in the day, I've been watching this stuff since like the late 70s. Even then, the 80s, what would happen was you would have a handful of kind of elite, really good teams. And then the rest, you'd have a kind of a midsection, kind of middling teams like, okay, maybe they can make the playoffs, a wild card, maybe not. And then you had bottom teams that were just shit every year, including the Patriots, the Colts. They were in the same division at the time, AFC East. They were pretty much 3 or 4 win teams every single year. That said, you saw a ton more blowouts than you do now. Every game now seems like it's close. It's all one-score games. If you watch the Red Zone, Chris Hansen or whatever his name is, we're at the witching hour. There's only one-score games everywhere. We're going to quad box it. Everybody watch so we can get more money. I mean, come on. How many blowouts do we get anymore? Not that many. Not nearly as many. I mentioned that. Now, another thing is all these kicks off the goalposts and the crossbars. I don't remember seeing so many kicks banging off these posts. Now, Some channels say that they have magnets in the balls and they have and they can magnetically attract. I don't know how it's done, but it's weird that maybe that's possible. I don't know, but it's weird that we have so many kicks that bounce off these metal bars. But I want to hear what you have to say. Again, if you want to come on live right here, it's in the pinned comment. You go into their green room. I'm going to check out your chat right now in the regular chat. I want to see what you guys have to say. Let's see what you guys have to say. Can't believe you were spot on with the 3-point score prediction. Bet that bag. That's what I'm saying. I think at this point, I mean, I've loved the Raiders for decades, you know, and a lot of people, another thing this guy said, and he was complaining, like, why do you watch? Why do you watch? And my response was, well, I like James Bond movies. I don't think Daniel Craig's actually James Bond, but I like it. It's entertaining. So why couldn't I watch this? I still watch WWE from time to time. I know it's predetermined. Why can't I watch that? People watch soap operas and dramas, you know. Are people actually dying in those shows, you know? No. Everybody knows it's a movie, it's a TV show, but people watch it because it's entertaining. So it's this argument. These are psychological arguments that people put out because like I said, I don't think they want to be duped. They don't want to look like they're busters, that the NFL or somebody duped them. So they're just going to deny. They're not even going to think about it. Well, then, you know, I could respect you. You know, maybe I disagree with you, Raider Champion, but you know, I'll think about it. I'll go look, and I told him to research how this league started. It's basically from a bunch of guys who were gamblers, kind of questionable businesses. You go ahead and look for yourself. So, like I said, where there's smoke, there's some fire. So, let's see. Officer Rollout also says, Carr and 2 of 3 interceptions each, brothers without arms or brothers from another mother. Carr, you could argue that he threw that game. You could very well argue. The one to Moreau, that was on Moreau. He sucks. I mean, it was right about here. You know, I'm not saying it was right there, but the weather conditions, not just that. You're in the NFL. You're an elite football player compared to the world. If it's right here in your hands, it pops up. That's on you. You know, it's not always going to come right to your numbers. The other one, Hunter Renfrow, he threw behind him. Shitty throw, and that last one was absolute garbage. It looked kind of like a punt. It looked like a pop-up in center field. And once you saw it coming up, you could see everybody kind of waiting for it. You knew it was going to be picked. And people are saying, that was the immaculate interception. I'm a Steeler fan. No, you're being duped. You're being duped. I mean, how can a guy throw so shitty picks or so shitty passes at one point, but then can engineer game-winning drives in another one? And I brought up the last 3 weeks, two games before this with the Rams on Thursday Night Football. Matt Stafford's out, and I talked about this before. And people ask me, because in my own fantasy league, I had Matt Stafford last year. I stayed away from him because I knew he had an injury to that arm. And all I heard was it's just going to get worse and worse in the season. You're not going to be able to rely on this guy. Let somebody else deal with it. They had no quarterback. He wasn't there. They bring in Baker Mayfield off of the friggin' scrap pile, literally off of waivers. Carolina didn't want him anymore. 2 days there. And he's some superstar. Bullshit right there. Number 2, of course, that Patriot game. We went through that. I'm not going to show that again because I don't want to get another copyright hit. You can watch it last week's game review. I went half speed through there and showed this play made no sense. It didn't make any sense from a logic standpoint because either you throw it deep to try to get a Hail Mary, and even if it's picked off back then, so what? The clock's at 0, you go to overtime, but that's not going to hurt you. Or you take a knee, go to overtime, and play for overtime. This backwards play when they're tied, they weren't losing. Why do the backwards lateral Stanford bullshit? And then Jacoby Myers, like I said, throw it right to Chandler Jones. Check that out last week. I went through it. I showed the video. I got hit. I'm not going to do that again. Fuck the NFL and fuck YouTube. You're not taking any more of my money. Let's see. Raiders 7528 said, I told you about Carr. I know a lot of people were talking about the cold weather Carr. So is it cold weather Carr, or did he throw that game? Is it just legitimate crappiness from him, or some of those, and not just those, some of those throws to Devontae Adams, I could have thrown those. They were sailing over his head and shit. He looked like Baker Mayfield. Give me a break. And there wasn't that much wind there. It was a little bit, but not as much as, say, the Cleveland Brown game a couple years ago, where we played Baker Mayfield in Cleveland and nobody could throw anything, and they could hardly kick field goals unless they were within like 30 yards. That's understandable. There's some logic to that. This one, not so much. Got to sell their damn pizzas over priced cars, says Officer Rollout, of course. So the NFL gets those big fat contracts, those TV contracts, because us people are entertained watching the close games, and it's so great, and we all buy all of our garb, our hats, our jerseys, all of our crap. We go to the stadiums, pay for the $100 parking and the $20 hot dog and all that bullshit. I told people before this, the way the Raiders were playing, why give them your money? You know, they don't care. They know. It's like Disney. Disney is shit right now, and they don't care. They want their attendance to go down. They raise their prices because they're going to be making money. They don't care because they know there are diehard Disney lovers with all the mouse ears. Let me buy my 100 pair of mouse ears. They know they got those people hook, line, and sinker. They don't care. And NFL's kind of the same way, guys. And I keep telling you this. I think it's rigged. Take a look at it. Make the decision for yourself. If you still want to watch it, that's cool. It's like WWE. If you still want to watch it and it's cool, don't pay $100 for parking. Don't pay $1,000 for seats and a beer and a hot dog. Come on, guys. Come on. And, you know, it is what it is. Let's get real about this. I bought jerseys. You know, I've spent money on this stuff too. Let's not get our pride in the way and be blinded by that and have a conniption fit over the truth. Okay, the truth hurts sometimes. And like I said, they got the TV contracts because it's exciting. They can jack that up. You know what that means? That means CBS, Fox, and all these people can jack up the advertising price. So that means you're going to be paying twice as much for your Papa John's pizza or whatever with Peyton Manning there. Raiders 7528 says 9 years wasted. Might be 9 years fixed. Let's be honest here. Let's be honest. There are times where Carr looks almost MVP like. Let's be real. I want to be real with you. I want to be truthful. Sometimes he looks like a Baker Mayfield, looks like shit out there. And today he looked like shit. There's other times in the dome, at home, can't complain about the weather and the wind and all this other excuses where he's looked like shit. And then there's times like Foster Moreau screws him over. Screws over on a run. Face mask. No need to face mask the guy. You know, stupid play. Hands of stone again. Year after year after year. I've seen this for years now with this guy. I don't know what the coaching staff, the regime, and frankly Raider Nation sees in this guy. He's got the athletic chops. I will give him that. He has that. He has the size and kind of the fundamentals. It looks like one of those big type of Kelsey guys, but he doesn't have the hands. And frankly, I don't think he's got it here as far as work ethic, and all that stuff. It hasn't happened. It has not happened. Kind of like when you say 9 years wasted with Carr. We have the ceiling with Carr. Even if you feel this is legit, we have the ceiling with Carr now. So this is what you're going to get. Same thing. Darren Waller was hurt a number of times. Hurt. Maybe real hurt. Maybe I want more money hurt. Maybe we're out of the playoffs, so I'm hurt and I don't want to get hurt for real. So I'll collect my money hurt. All those times where Moreau was put in the starting lineup, All these suckers, I'm going to call them that. All these bustas, these fantasy bustas, going and picking up Foster Moreau. You see me picking up Foster Moreau? Never picked him up. Go ahead and get your 40 yards and you lose your game. Good luck with that, sir. Dominique says, I'm just glad everyone now sees Carr needs to go. Even the Kardashians realize it's about damn time. Well, if you believe it's legit, yeah, you kind of see where you stand with him. And I've said this before. It's kind of like an Alex Smith situation before Patrick Mahomes. You know what you got with him. Is he shitty? Sometimes yes. Is he good? Sometimes yes. I would say he's about an average type quarterback. And I say anywhere, and I'm going to still say it, anywhere from the 6th best quarterback in the league when he's on fire to the 14th, 15th best quarterback in the league. And this week, maybe like the 25th best quarterback in the league, let's be honest. But he kind of varies. So, but you know what you're going to get. Just like Alex Smith, the Chiefs, the Queefs, if they're longtime fans and they want to admit it, if they're bandwagoners, they're not going to know because they weren't there until they got all good and gravy. But back in the 7 and 9 days, the 8 and 8 days, the pre-Patrick Mahomes days, they had Alex Smith. Same kind of crap. He wasn't going to win you games. Sometimes he wasn't going to lose you games, but he wasn't going to win you games. You're going to meddle along. And that's what happened. And they were tired of meddling along, and they went and got Patrick Mahomes. There you go. Officer Rollout says it's all fun and games until the handcuffs come out. Whoa. The big boss man from Cobb County, Georgia is in here in the house, I think. He's gonna carry the big stick, the ball and chain too. If you're looking for trouble, he'll be coming after you. I'll probably get a copyright hit just by saying the lyrics to that fucking song, with YouTube. They won't promote the video, of course, most of my views come from subscribers. I know I see a lot of, I watch other videos, not just Raider videos, other videos. And a lot of the creators whine and complain that I have 85% of my people watching this that are not subscribed. I wish I could get that. I get it the other way. You know why? Because that way you grow. You have new faces looking at this stuff and they're complaining about this stuff. Give me a break. I'll take that. You take my 85% sub and you meddle along like Alex Smith, man. Give me a break. So I want to know what you guys have to say. If you want to come into the green room, it's still open right here. Pin comment. Click that link. Come on down to the green room. I'll let you come in, get your mic on. You want to get your drink on. If it's legal, you can get your smoke on, depending on the state. I don't really give a shit at this point. I think I'm going to reformat this channel. I'm probably going to restart the channel with a new, I've believed that this channel has been kind of blacklisted for some other reasons. Some of my other affiliations, not necessarily with Raider Nation type stuff, I think kind of got me in trouble with this particular channel. So when and if I do make a transition to a new channel, I will let you know, give you the links, and then you can jump over there. And if I'm right, which I'm about 80, 90% believe I'm right, that channel will grow like a weed. So, let's see. Tragedy turned triumph says, doesn't feel like a Raider World Order. Well, it doesn't. I mean, it feels like it's fixed. It feels like WWE, and Al's Ghost is in the house. Salute, champion. Salute to you, sir. And Merry Christmas to all of you in here. I know it's, I hope you got what you wanted. You got your presents. You got the family thing taken care of. Now we can come on this evening and talk a little bit about the Raiders. And again, it feels like it's fixed. It feels like it's rigged. I talked about this in the preview with Franco Harris, the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception. They did the Hall of Fame ring ceremony at halftime for him there. They had the little patches on their uniforms. It was all set up for them to win. It's a storybook. It looks like a storybook. It looks like a WWE storyline. And then I say it to certain people, certain content creators, and they have a shit fit because they can't see the truth. They start talking bullshit like, you're only saying that when they lose. I said it last week. I said it last week when we got a gift with that Patriots game. Did you watch my review? No. So maybe you should watch my content before you open your mouth. Then you won't look so ignorant. That's how it is. If you want to come on, you can come on. If you want to debate me about the reality of sport versus sport, it's entertainment here in the WWNFL. We can do that. If you want to talk about the game in general, we can do that as well. Dominique says, Champ, what would be your plan for quarterback next year? Who would you target if you were in charge? Well, that would depend. If this is legitimate and it's not WWE, well, if it's WWE, it's not going to really matter because I think the competition committee, the league itself in the offseason probably, I don't know if they plan every single game or what, but they probably have a general storyline of who they want to rise and who they want to fall. And now that Tom Brady's 57 years old and not looking so good, perhaps that's why they're pushing Josh Allen. Perhaps that's why they're pushing Patrick Mahomes. They're trying to get the new breed of quarterback. And even they themselves have said, quarterbacks run this league. Quarterbacks sell the tickets, put the butts in the seats, both in the stands and on the TV set. So they've said that themselves. So it would make sense for them to groom a new crop up to replace the old guard. What would I do if it was legit? Definitely be drafting a quarterback. Not necessarily in the first round. I'd want to look at what's there. I gotta look at where our draft position is. We're going to go over that. If you guys want to go over that, we'll do that again. I know a lot of people love the mock drafts that we do online on our live streams. Those are probably the most popular, not only from a live standpoint, but also a replay standpoint. People rewatch that again. And if you are rewatching, of course, I got to say it again, like this thing. Don't forget to put a like on your way out, like on your way in. And of course, subscribe to the channel. YouTube is not going to do me any favors. I'm not big enough for them to make good money off of, so they're not going to do me any favors. They're pieces of shit, just like the NFL. Wait a minute. Officer Rollhead says, wait a minute, Eric. Did you just say you're going to grow weed, bad boy? No, I said you can get your smoke on in the live stream if you want, if it's legal in your state. I know a lot of states are medicinal. Some are absolutely no medicinal. If you want to get your drink on, if you think it's legitimate and you need a drink, I can completely understand that. If you think it's phony and you're just coming to that conclusion and you're finally looking at the truth and not denying things and being a buster, I can see that as well. If you need a drink or something to get you through the night, I can see that. Maybe you got a shitty Christmas and you need to have a drink or a smoke to relax. I can see that as well. And I can see Al's ghost has popped into the green room. How are you doing, sir? I'm going to break in here, but I first want to get into tragedy turned triumph. I do feel the refs gave the Steelers extra time when the players was down inside. I think that spot on the fourth down, I think it was a lot closer. I'm kind of 50-50 whether or not he got it. I was looking at the replay. But they moved it up a yard. There was going to be no doubt. I don't think they wanted to break momentum in that and that final drive by the Steelers. So let's get Al's Ghost in here. Al's Ghost, testing 1, 2.
Hey, champion, how's it going? Could you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you. Does everybody hear him? Now,
testing.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you, brother. We had a little bit of problem with Psycho Raider in here during our game preview. How you doing?
I could be doing better with the Raider win, but it's always nice to spend the holidays with the family and hope you had a good holiday, champion.
Thank you. Merry Christmas to you as well. Happy holidays, whatever you guys all celebrate. It's good to go. Yeah, I want to know your thoughts about the game. I want to know your thoughts. I've been talking a couple weeks now pretty vocally about the possibility that this league in general is rigged, and I gave some examples. So first I want to hear what you have to say about the game in general. I know you had 16-13 Raiders. I had 16-13 Pittsburgh. It was 13-10 Pittsburgh. Give me your initial thoughts on the game. Anything else you want to add to that? And then I really want to know what you think about my conspiracy theory or theory that the NFL is predetermined, at least partially, if not completely. Go ahead.
Yeah, to your first question, champion, I think yesterday's game was really a microcosm of the entire season, where we start off pretty good, we lose steam at the start of the second half, and all of a sudden we forget how to play complementary football, and we forget how to play defense in critical situations. We forget how to get first downs, and we let these teams hang around, hang around, hang around, and then it comes up and bites us in the butt in the what towards the end of the game, and then we end up losing the game. And I think this is probably the seventh or eighth time that that's happened this season. So it's really just a microcosm of the entire story of the 2022 Raiders, and it's really unfortunate because you could easily say that we could have 10 plus wins in the entire year, but here we are sitting with 6 wins and 9 losses. But yeah, I mean, I think the game yesterday, obviously, I think weather was a factor. I think wind was a factor as well. I don't think players and coaches will say that outright because it comes off as an excuse. But at the end of the day, both teams had to deal with the weather conditions. I think Carr by far played his worst game of the season, probably one of his worst games of his entire career. And as you know, champion, I'm a Carr supporter, but I also try to be as objective as possible. And I don't think he played to his standards. Whether the weather was a factor, whether having an offensive line that struggled against the defensive front of the Steelers was a factor. I think a lot of things came into play in order to affect his play, but he does deserve some blame for this for sure. That being said, there were other critical mistakes. As you know, football is the ultimate team sport. There were some drops by Moreau and Renfro that led to some interceptions, some that were very, very critical in key junctures of the game. I thought Dylan Parham got absolutely abused by Cam Hayward. And I think if, Child Protective Services were out there, they probably would have, slapped Hayward with like some probation or something like that because he was just absolutely manhandling Parham. And I couldn't imagine, as a fan, I'm not sure about you, champion, but I don't spend 60, 70 hours a week breaking down film. But if you see your rookie guard getting abused, why don't you give him some help? You can't have this guy going one-on-one against Hayward the entire game. And pressure up the middle, as you know, is the worst kind of pressure for a quarterback to experience, even worse than edge pressure. So I thought that our coaching staff really showed how incompetent they were last night when they didn't give Parham any help. And obviously the offensive line couldn't really open up holes for JJ. I thought Adams, I haven't seen the all 22 film. It hasn't come out yet, but it doesn't seem like he was really getting open. But as expected, I'm sure they were doubling Adams over the top. And then on defense, just a couple quick points. After Chandler left the game, I actually thought that Cleveland Farrell performed pretty well. But I think what really killed us on defense was when Denzel Perryman suffered his injury and he went out. And then we had Sam Webb playing, sort of this dime linebacker role, which of course Sam Webb is a cornerback. But then again, that goes back to coaching. How could he not go into the game with multiple linebackers in the event of an injury or just to give your guys some rest? And obviously our defense was just way too gassed towards the end to really give Pickett any problems. So unfortunate defeat, really, really tough loss. And then to your second question, excuse me, your second question, champion, about the NFL being rigged. I mean, some of these, the way that some of these games end and the way that they pivot and change course, it makes you think that there's something to that. I think that the sports fanatic in me would really, I would really feel ashamed and sad if that were the case, because I do appreciate the purity in competition and the purity in sport and making sure that the best team wins week in and week out. But, ultimately teams, leagues, etc., are made up by humans, and humans are fallible, and humans are prone to do things that aren't necessarily in the purest things to do. I'll put it that way. So, I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I hope that's not the case, but the way that these games pivot and change, it's kind of strange. And actually, like a question to that point is, I think this was towards the end of the game when the Steelers were driving down the field. The Steelers actually called a timeout because I think the Raiders challenged a play. I actually forget the exact sequence, but the Steelers called a timeout, and then the refs ended up giving them the timeout back. Do you remember that? It was just like a very strange sequence.
Yeah, what happened was it was within 2 minutes. The Steelers called the timeout, and they overturned, I believe it was a reception call. They overturned it while the timeout was going. They did an official review within 2 minutes, independent of that. They overturned the call and then gave Pittsburgh that timeout back like they challenged it, which didn't make any sense to me. And when I saw that, I go, yeah, they're giving them another timeout here. I'm not sure if that's within the rules per se, but that doesn't make any sense to me because they were not officially challenging anything. If they call a timeout because somebody stubs their toe, needs a drink of water, and the league or the officials want to do something in the booth within 2 minutes, what the hell does that have to do with anything? To your point, yeah, Parham was terrible. I didn't even mention him. He was just awful. But again, this goes back to all these holes I talked about in the offseason, not really supported. There was one play with Parham where he was doubling with Colt Miller on a player, and another player stunted around him, literally around his right shoulder. I don't know if he's blind in his right eye or what. Didn't even see him, came right at Carr. I don't know what to say about that, but as far as this goes, these last 3 weeks, to me, it looks like storybook. The 2 losses and the win. I broke down that play last week in the review. I got a copyright hit for it for showing a video in my little screen over here. But I showed it in Chandler Jones was basically standing on the shield waiting for that ball, it seems. And Jacoby Myers basically threw it directly to him. Now, is he a quarterback? No. But even wide receivers, like I said, maybe he played quarterback in high school. They usually do. These are elite talent. Mac Jones was like 4 or 5 yards away. I can't see him missing him like that and throwing it right to him. Again, another storybook type of thing. And like I said, it's almost like the end of a chapter of the Patriots dynasty. They're flailing. They're not going to go anywhere. They lost again this week. It's over for them. It started with the tuck rule. It ended here. Storyline and storyline. Like I said, this looks like WWE to me. Let's see. Hang on 1 second. I'll get to you in a minute. Al's Ghost. Officer Roulette says, I cut no slack for cold wet weather. They have money and equipment to deal with it. I coached a Pop Warner team for 10-year-olds through a Florida monsoon and no crying. There is no crying in football, and there's no crying in the Raider Champion live stream. That's right. We can bitch all we want. There aren't going to be any crying and throwing conniption fits that this is fake. We're gonna face the truth one way or the other. It looks fake. There's a lot of smoke to it. Do I have evidence directly on that? I do not. But there's a lot of coincidences. You got to believe in a lot of coincidence. Everything I've already brought up, you have to believe that it happened by chance alone. That's to me, that's a tough pill to swallow. What else do you have to add to that, Al's Ghost? Do you have any other questions for me?
Yeah, no, I mean, there is definitely like an interesting theory, Champion. It'd be fascinating to try to dig up the other storylines that have occurred over the years and decades of the NFL's existence. Mm-hmm. But if there's like an NFL franchise that has the most storylines, it's probably the Raiders. Just think of all the games that have specific names attached to them, like the Heidi game, the Tuck Rule game, the Immaculate Reception, the Holy Roller, the Ghost to the Post, et cetera, et cetera. So there may be something to it. And at the end of the day, right, the NFL is a product. It's an entertainment product that makes billions of dollars every year. I'm sure you saw on the news how YouTube ended up paying over $2 billion to broadcast the NFL Sunday Ticket. So now DirecTV is not carrying NFL Sunday Ticket. It will be YouTube going forward. So I think we need to look at the NFL as what it is, right? Which is an entertainment product. And in order to make an entertainment product exciting to the masses, you sometimes have to create certain storylines. I sure hope that things aren't fixed or rigged, but you just never know. But just quickly, going back to the game, I just, I want to be hopeful for the future champion, but I just don't know if I have much hope in this coaching staff, and not just the coaching staff, but also the front office. I haven't been a big Dylan Parham fan this entire year. And last night's game proved to me that he's just not ready for the big time. And I understand that he's a rookie, but we're late in the season. And I know that he's going up against one of the best defensive players in the NFL in Cam Hayward. But for him to be, manhandled the way he was, he's just not ready. And it makes me question Ziegler's decision to pick him. Of course, he's not a first-round pick. He's not a second-round pick. He's a third-round pick, and I do cut him some slack for that, and I do cut him some additional slack for being a rookie. But it sort of feeds into my thinking that we don't have the right people in place to right the ship. I also think I'm not sure if you caught Josh Jacobs's locker room presser, but he had some pretty strong words to say about the offense and how they weren't helping the defense, and he also said some choice words about those things, and he kind of just seemed defeated and deflated in my mind. And it seems like he's done with this. It seems like he's done with the Raiders, honestly. Totally. Like I feel he'll get franchise tagged, so he might be back next season, but I think he's just through. And frankly, I get the same sort of vibe from Carr. I think Carr probably is at this point in his career where he wants a fresh start somewhere else. And even though I'm a Carr supporter, I would be, in favor of him actually like going somewhere else, and for us to, sort of just start fresh and start, anew, and see if we find someone else through the draft who could quarterback for us. But yeah, the team just seemed pretty deflated, and even Hunter Renfrow, he got interviewed in the locker room after the game, and some of his comments actually like rubbed me the wrong way. I'm paraphrasing here, but he said that they were disappointed about the loss, but then he said, well, it's Christmas tomorrow, so we got to remember what's important in life. And I get that. Obviously it's Christmas today, and it's an important day for a lot of people who celebrate, but how is it that as fans we could be more pissed off and more dejected than some of these guys who were playing on the field? And that bothers me. And I know they have to turn the page and get ready for the 49ers on New Year's Day, but it should sting. You should be upset. And it seems like the only guy who's really upset is Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams. But anyways, just your thoughts on that, on the sort of locker room vibe from last night's game.
All right. Well, the first thing I showed during the game review is this right here. I mean, this is an absolute joke. I mean, you have a head coach in the National Football League, can't wear a fucking headband. It's upside down, for crying out loud. And like I said, the announcers kind of picked up on it a little bit later. They were saying, well, maybe it was good luck. Then why the hell did he turn around the second half? And then we ended up with bad luck then. I don't think so. I think he put it on wrong. He probably puts his underwear on backwards too. It kind of tells you a lot about this guy right here, to be honest with you. But like I said, if it is legit, I would see it this way. I think Jacobs has been playing his ass off. Of course, we didn't pick up the extension, so he's basically a free agency. Or basically a free agent after the season. So he's probably busting his ass trying to get a good contract next year. Are the Raiders going to franchise him? Maybe. But I still don't think he's going to be with the Raiders next year. If we do that, it'll be a trade situation or something where we'll work out some kind of deal with another team that wants him, and then he'll get a new contract restructured or something. But I don't see him playing on the field for us next year either way. Derek Carr, I mean, this everybody's saying the season's over, game over. I see all these content creators. Dude, you guys are way behind. I said this in New Orleans. I put a thumbnail out with the damn graveyard. Here lies the Raiders 2022 season. It was over when we got shut out. It was over. We couldn't even cross midfield till 2 minutes left in the game. There was no way of coming back. And I saw, well, we got Houston, we got this, we got that. Still, it's not going to happen. We've lost too many of these games we should have won, again, if it's legit. So with Carr, he's probably going to get cut. I heard on some sports show that basically if the Raiders cut him, they can save so much money. If they cut him within like 3 days of the Super Bowl or something, they can save a ton of money. I don't know how his contracts worked exactly, so don't be surprised if he's cut. As far as him, I know Dominique, he talked about he's the only one to play for the Raiders. The proof of the pudding will be the eating. I don't think that's going to happen. I think he's going to go somewhere else, maybe Washington, maybe New York, if either New York team. I don't know how he's going to play in the cold weather, though. Again, we're saying if this is legit. He does look bad in cold weather. There's no denying it for whatever reason. And, of course, you got that I-95 corridor. Those are all teams outside of a dome. You're going to be playing in cold weather. So, but those are teams that need quarterbacks. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I don't think he's going to be with the team either. Zamir White, not really used this year. Maybe not really trusted. Why did you pull? To me, that's a wasted draft pick then. You moved up to get the guy. He should be starting to get integrated into this by now. If it's legit, right now we're toast anyway. Why not put that guy in and see what you got for the few games? That way, do we really need to go after a running back in free agency? We're not going to get Jacobs back. That presser is basically an FU to the Raiders. He's tired of this nonsense. That tells me he's not going to re-sign with us. So you're going to have to franchise him, and maybe he'll sit out. I don't know. But I don't think he's going to want to play for a 1-year franchise deal. If we franchise him, we'll probably trade him away. So why not put Zamir White in there right now? See what you got these last 3 games. Or last 2 games, rather. We've got the 49ers, one of the best defenses in the league. Good luck. Good luck to that. I don't know. And then we got the Chiefs, who I still think are going to be fighting for that top overall seed. So they're going to keep the gas pedal firmly pressed down. We're going to see Mahomes. So we might not win another game. And like I said at that guy's live stream last night during the game, I think this is the last time we've seen Denzel Perryman in a silver and black uniform as well. It's sad. I think, if anything, we should have taken some money and tried to extend him. Maybe he didn't want to, but it looked like a shoulder type injury, the way he fell down, the way he was holding it as he left the field. He's not going to play the last 2 games. Why would he? We're out of it. Fuck it. Why maybe re-injure something? Maybe it's a partial tear or a grade 1 or something. Why re-aggravate it? It wouldn't make any sense for him. He's going to be a free agent. He's going to go to a team, make some good money. He's played very well for us the last 2 years. So let's see. Let's go over the chat comments, and then get some final words from you and kind of close this out here, Alex Ghost. Let's see. Dominique also said about the car, saying he would retire if it wasn't a Raider. I'm not buying that. Again, I'm assuming this is all legit. I'm not buying that. If we cut him, he'll go somewhere else. I'm not so sure where though. We'll see. I, I'm just trying to think of teams that could actually use him. Seattle? I don't know. Can he play in that weather? It doesn't get that cold. It gets rainy though. Denver, that would be very interesting. Russell Wilson's basically shit the bed. I think he threw 3 interceptions today, so that would be interesting. But they gave up a lot of capital for him. I talked about that. Everybody's saying, "Well, Denver's right in the mix now." I go, "No, they're not." Did you watch Russell Wilson last year, sir? He had career lows in completion percentage, I believe, and I showed it. Accuracy percentage. It's just catching up to him. I think Denver got sold a bill of goods there, but I don't like Denver, so good for them. Let's go to the next one. 49ers game will be ugly. Absolutely. They're fighting. I'm not sure if they can get the top spot, but they're definitely fighting for playoff seeding. I believe they've clinched the NFC West already. And Nick Bosa's going absolutely crazy. He's going to probably get Defensive Player of the Year. Too bad. Max has had a pretty good year, but not like that. And remember Gruden and Mayock. Let's have a flashback when we drafted Cleve Farrell. Remember that. Remember when we drafted Cleve Farrell? They both came out and said, Nick Bosa, Cleve Farrell, right there. They're right there together, right even. Told you, clown show right there. Proof's in the pudding. Not to say Cleve sucks. He ain't on the same level as Nick Bosa, though. Let's see. Dominique also says, we need to get something for Carr. No way we just cut him. If Matt, Ryan, and Wentz can get returned, we surely can't for Carr. You would think. I would rather have Carr than Matt Ryan or Carr. Definitely Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz is absolute garbage. He was garbage in that Indianapolis game. Luckiest touchdown I've ever seen in my life. We saw that last year. Absolute trash. He'll have like 1 or 2 games a year where he looks like he's legit. And then the rest he's trash. I smell a Le'Veon Bell redo. No. Please no. How about Lawrence Maroney? I mean, he was a Patriot. Why not? I mean, Tragic Triumph says, don't think Carr would play anywhere else. He's basically done with it all already and been through it. Maybe he's just going to retire and keep his money and maybe start a ministry or something. Good for him. But again, I said it. I kind of said it last offseason. I'm not sure if we can ever win a Super Bowl with Derek Carr at this point. So it is what it is. See, Dominic says Seattle. I said Seattle. New Orleans, that would be very interesting, especially if Peyton comes back to coach. Indianapolis, Dome, Washington, Tampa. Could be. I mean, he threw for 400 yards at one time in that overtime game in Tampa. I think that could be a spot. Atlanta, they already took Mariota. Why not? I was thinking Atlanta. I didn't want to say it. Carolina. Carolina's a mess. He's not going to want to go there. Oh man, they got Taylor Moton and the rest of that line is trash. Jets, Giants. Yep. Two New York teams could all be interested in Carr. Absolutely. Okay, Alex Ghost. I'm gonna leave it to you. If you have any final thoughts or questions, you go ahead and say it. Same thing for the people in the chat. If you have any final thoughts or questions, put them in the chat. We'll go over that. And go ahead. Floor is yours, Alex Ghost.
Thanks, champion. Excuse me. I think I was just going to reiterate some of my earlier points. And not to be a downer here, but I do think that yesterday's loss in the frigid cold of Pittsburgh, sort of signaled the end of a certain era of Raiders football. And I think it's probably the end of, Josh Jacobs, the end of Denzel Perryman, and the possible end of Derek Carr being a Raider. And I think we may be in for a long haul rebuild. We're pretty used to those at this point in our Raider fandom. And so I'm not too hopeful for the future. I don't really believe in the front office. I know that Ziegler only has one draft under his belt, and he's never had a first or second round to play with. But I'm frankly not too impressed with the draft picks he did this year. And I'm not too confident. I actually scratched that. I'm not confident at all in this coaching staff, offense, defense, or special teams. I think that they're incredibly incompetent, and I don't think that there's reason to believe that they'll turn things around and miraculously, have the Raiders in playoff contention next year. So I think, to go back to your earlier point, champion, of narratives and storylines that the NFL likes pushing, it looks like the AFC West will be, the storyline of Herbert and Mahomes, the two young quarterbacks, one based in LA, one based in Kansas City, that are fighting year in and year out for the AFC West throne. And sadly, as a Raider fan, I hate saying this, but we'll be stuck at the bottom. Better than the Donkeys, but we'll still be stuck at the bottom, I think, of the AFC West. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't have confidence in the front office or the coaching staff to turn things around. I'll let you close out the show. Really appreciate you having me on, champion, and go Raiders.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming on, and Merry Christmas again, and go Raiders, absolutely. Getting back, I'll kind of work backwards what you said. AFC West, yeah, you're probably right. They got the two young guns. They've been pushing that for a while, even though Herbert's kind of regressed this year, let's be honest. Not looking as imposing as he did before. And, of course, they got Josh Allen over there. I think they're probably going to try to groom another one of these young quarterbacks coming up as well. I'm thinking of that quarterback in Chicago. I mean, that kind of makes sense to me. It looks like the Packers are kind of on their way out. I know they beat Miami today. But Justin Fields, I mean, he's something. I mean, if he can stay healthy, he's a very dynamic player. Another year under his belt, who knows what could happen with him. He could be another young gun that they push. Again, let's go back to the AFC West. Of course, the Donkeys. I said that deal was crap for Russell Wilson. They gave up too much draft capital. It looks like he's shot. Let's be honest with you. Former MVP, definitely many steps away from that now, and that's going to cost Denver now. And the money wise and the draft pick wise, the defense has regressed. It's not terrible, but it's not as imposing as it was before. And they got rid of Bradley Chubb. Went to, I believe, Miami. He was not the same once they got rid of Von Miller, let's be honest, anyway. So they still have Jordan Simmons. But, yeah, and then Melvin Gordon can't hold on the ball. Javonte Williams got hurt. Terrible knee injury. Sorry for him. Honestly, those types of things, and we saw it with Saquon Barkley and other running backs, I think with the exception of Adrian Peterson, it takes them at least a year of playing to get back to where they were. So even next year when he comes back, he's going to be a shadow of himself. They're not going to look that good. They'll probably have a top 5 pick, I think, Denver. And then maybe he could get things going the year after that, Javonte. So, yeah, it looks like that. Like I said, I don't think Perryman's coming back. Either we didn't want to sign him to an extension or he didn't want to sign with us. Maybe the money wasn't right. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but it didn't happen. So he's going to be a free agent. And I don't think he's going to play the last 2 games. Why would he? Josh Jacobs, I already talked about that. Derek Carr, I already talked about that. And I think it was kind of set up that way. Again, if it's legit, it kind of feels like it was a rebuild anyway, because there were several holes. And I'm a Raider content creator. Like you said, we're not looking at 60, 70 hours of film a day. This isn't like a full-time job and all that like these guys. But there were holes I picked out early in preseason, early in the offseason rather, never were filled. Weren't filled in the draft, weren't filled in free agency. I wanted Larry Ogunjobi. We saw him last week. He's kind of a versatile, do-it-all type of guy inside. We have a hole there at defensive tackle, playing okay at times, getting gashed though still. The cornerback room is an absolute joke. We traded and got Rocky Sin with the unique thing. Maybe the only decent kind of outside guy we have. Amik's more of a slot guy. The old regime drafted him that way. He's 5'8", 5'9". I don't see him as an outside guy. Nate Hobbs, same kind of thing. He looked terrible. I like him. He's a playmaker. I don't think he's used properly in this defense. But he had a bad game. He looked bad. The cupboard's pretty bare there. And then the offensive line, I was worried about right tackle. I'm not saying Illuminor is the savior, but compared to what we saw with Leatherwood and Brandon Parker, he looks good compared to those two guys. I would say average, with that guy. Could we get better? Of course. I think the big problem was guard play. You talked about Dylan Parham. He got destroyed by Cam Hayward. But Cam Hayward's a stud. He's one of the best interior linemen, has been for a while. Stud guy. Alex Barrs, average at best. I talked about that. That Grossu guy last week was terrible. Andre James is up and down. I know a lot of people like Andre James. He's okay. He's average at best. And that's the pressure, I think. And like you said, the coaching. I think they did a lot of stunts in the game this week, and Parham looked completely lost. And there we go. And it looks like we're going to have to look for another running back. Unless they throw Zamir White in and he shows he could be the number one guy. I don't think Josh Jacobs is going to be playing for the Raiders next year. They might franchise tag him and then trade him. But this could get ugly with this guy, to be honest with you. The way he's talking now, it's kind of setting the table for what's happening. So, again, I appreciate you coming on Al's Ghost. I'm going to get some of your final comments. We'll close this one out. Treasure Triumph says, fuck learning another scheme. I would just write a book. Yes. Dominic says, not a fan of the regime after either coaches or Ziegler. McDaniels and Graham are absolutely terrible. I mean, I had such high hopes for Patrick Graham, given what I saw last year with the Giants. Again, if it's legit, I don't know what happened. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes it almost makes me want to have Gus Bradley back. And there was a lot of problems with that. I mean, the stuff we saw, especially in this game, again, if it's legit, stuff we saw like on the last drive where they would throw the running back in the flat like every fucking play, and they're not covering that. Everybody's seeing it. The announcers are saying it. That's another reason for me it feels like it's scripted. How can coaching staffs be that stupid and not adjust? How could that possibly be where there's not somebody at least near him? He was wide open. Najee was for like 2 or 3 plays in a row. What's going on with that? That to me, that sounds like, that looks like something we'd see with Gus Bradley. So let's go to the next one. No more Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. There will be a Pro Bowl this year coming up, 2023, technically this season. So I don't know where it's going to be after that, but yeah, we have a 5'8" guy as a starting corner, Meek Robertson. Yeah, University of, was it Louisiana Lafayette, technical, I don't know. Some of those schools, Bayou schools, I believe we got him from. Scrappy guy, but he's little. I was looking at him as maybe a slot guy. We got him later in the draft. It wasn't like a first-round pick or anything. I don't think we have any more first-round picks on the team in the last 3 or 4 years, to be honest with you. So Hobbs is an outside corner. He's not either. No, he's not. He's more of a slot guy. I almost would want him. I'd almost would want him as like a strong safety guy. I mean, he's kind of a playmaker. Made some bad tackles though. That guy jumped over him like a video game. That one play, I was like, oh my God, we look so stupid. But again, I think there's some shenanigans going on. I can't believe this is totally legitimate by what I've seen, not just with the Raiders, not just with the loss, but also the win with the Patriots. Other teams, other things happening in the league. It's showing itself to be more business oriented, and they're going to push a certain agenda, a certain storyline. Could I be wrong? Yeah. But I mean, look at the evidence. Look at what we're seeing here. and at least contemplate the possibility that it could be scripted, that it could just be entertainment. Apparently, they filed with the federal government that they are an entertainment company, not a sports group. I guess, the antitrust. Some people say it's just because the antitrust thing that they're saying it's, one business with 32 owners. It's not 32 different businesses. That's why they did it. Other people say no, it's because it's the WWE. It's a way to avoid that. Otherwise, they could get in trouble for kind of like fixing games or something if they're trying to say it's a legitimate contest. I know some people argue, well, you can bet on football. You can bet on it in FanDuel, or you can do that, and not just the fantasy, but the sports book side. And I come back and say DraftKings promotes WWE. You can bet on WWE spots, who wins, prop bets on WWE stuff, which that just blows my mind. Why would anybody do that? I mean, that's ripe for corruption. Everybody knows it's predetermined. If DraftKings is seeing a certain prop bet go too high, why not change the script so the first move isn't a body slam or whatever? To give an example, it's ripe with being able to be corrupted, and I don't know how anybody could bet on something like that, which they know is predetermined. It makes no sense to me when people do it. Let's get to these last few comments. We need to draft a corner in the first. I'm not so sure about that. I don't like drafting corners in the first round unless they're going to have to be like a Jalen Ramsey type, a Revis Island type player for you to spend that kind of draft capital on. Let's be honest. And we've went that route already. Come on. I want to say his name, Damon Arnett. But WWE bets. Wow. Yeah. And if you watch it, they promote it. They say, it's like the FanDuel or whatever. They say, deposit $20 and you get $100 in credit to bet. And they do it. I haven't done it. I'm on FanDuel. I'm not on DraftKings, but I'll watch like some WWE stuff and they'll promote that. And it's just like, whoa, it blows my mind. How could you bet on something already predetermined? They could just change the script and screw everybody over, and only, a minority percent wins, the prop bet or whatever, instead of everybody betting on a body slam or, like I said. So I'm also not in favor of drafting cornerbacks in the first round, says Al Goes. Draft defensive linemen instead. Yeah, I think you should draft on the line, offensive or defensive line. Because, I mean, let's be honest, other than quarterback, those are the most important positions. Be able to control the trenches one way or the other. And it kind of showed last week, or this last night's game. It shows on many games. So, and the quarterback position, 3 interceptions. So, I don't like cornerbacks in the first, but I feel it's needed this time. I would rather go after, honestly, I'd rather go after a free agent, not to give huge money like a J.C. Jackson. I thought that was ridiculous, but to go after a mid-level guy, I'm still wondering why we didn't go after a Bryce Callahan. I know he's another small guy, but the guy from the Philadelphia Eagles who was a free agent, he looked like a decent corner. We could have put alongside Rocky Sin. Nelson. I went over all this stuff. I have videos. You can, if you think I'm full of crap, I know people say, oh, you say this, you're saying after the fact. Go back to my off season. Go back. It's on my channel. I went over offensive and defensive holes. It looks like a pirate ship. Go over it. I went through the positions I thought were most of need and options that we could do and expect how we could fit them under the cap, if you want to look at that. So, but they didn't do it. They did, and it kind of goes to Algo's point. It almost feels like this was, like I said, if this is legit, it almost feels like this was a rebuilding year from the get-go. And a lot of people have said that, and a lot of people have said they were hanging Carr out to dry anyway, and they were going to go after another quarterback maybe in the next year's draft when they have first-round pick. I've heard that. theory. It's possible. But Carr has not done himself any favors. Let's be honest. I don't care what the temperature is. A couple of those picks were ridiculous. That last one at the end was absolute garbage. There's no excuse for that. All right, let's see. Anybody got anything else? We usually go about an hour. We're about an hour and 20 minutes. We were having a good talk. I appreciate that. Future of the channel, I'm not so sure. I don't know if you guys want me to still do Raider content. I might, if I do, it's going to be a different format. It's hard for me to go through if I feel this is already set up. Why should I bother with all this? Number one, if I feel it's rigged, why should I even bother with that and go through all the research and all that to set everything up? That doesn't make any sense. Number two, they're out of it. How many people are going to watch now? I don't get as many people watching as I normally used to. Once the Raiders started doing their tailspin, I've noticed that in my view counts and all that. And number three, like I said, YouTube does not promote this channel at all. At all. They are trash. The only views I get are normally from my subs now, and that's when they get notified. A lot of my subs don't even get notified in my live streams. That's how much love I get from YouTube. That's how much love. I love you, YouTube. Yeah, put that in your algorithm. So anyway, keep up the channel. Fans will continue to watch. I appreciate that, Alice Ghost. I will be doing something with the channel, whether it's a reformat or something. I might be starting a whole new channel because some of the things I said earlier, I think possibility some of my past affiliations has gotten me a little blackballed with YouTube. So I need to kind of start fresh. And if and when I do that, it'll probably be sometime next year. And I will let you know so you can jump over there, and I'll just let this channel be what it is and kind of let it go. But it is what it is. I do appreciate the ones who do come here, the ones who are notified and who do show up. Alice Ghost, great job as always. Very informed fan. A lot of you guys are very informed. A lot of my fan base, I do appreciate each and every one of you coming here. Tragedy Turns Triumph. A lot of the fans come here. Some of my moderators are not here tonight. They're probably busy with Christmas. I understand that completely. I do thank them as well. And so with that said, probably be doing something this weekend. I'm not quite sure what. We can talk a little bit about the 49er game. I might put out a poll saying what you guys want to see. I've done that before and kind of went with that. Until then, though, cool. Wear a wrestler's mask. What, Rey Mysterio? I'm not going to wear a wrestler's mask. But I do thank you for coming out, watching the channel, supporting the channel with your time. And again, Merry Christmas. And as always, go Raiders.
Ask you something. With all the distractions that you have off the field, how are you able to keep focused on winning football games as you do and do throughout the years?
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.